My name's Stasia Mills, and I am a longtime Broad Ripple, Butler, Tarkington neighbor, resident, lawyer, and I've been in practice for 20 years, which is hard to believe I've been doing anything for 20 years. But I love my work, and I'm excited to join my friend Sarah to share some information with y'all.
Hey guys, Sarah McClammer, also an estate planning attorney, live in Meridian Kessler, just moved my office to Meridian Kessler, so I never have to leave. I'm always here. Been practicing over 10 years and been doing estate planning for the last 6 years. So thanks for watching. We're just gonna go through some questions, hopefully just give a broad overview about estate planning, some general questions you might have, and just help calm fears and give you information during this crazy, hectic time. So, Stasia, you ready to get started?
I'm ready to start, and I love that you emphasize that this is for purposes of just promoting, promoting your own peace of mind. It's not intended to be perpetuated by any sort of fear. We just want you to have information to be equipped for you and your family and the people that you love. So that's why we're here.
Exactly. And I think we don't want to come from a place of fear and tell you that something bad is going to happen if you don't have these documents in place. It's simply if you have questions, if you have concerns, hopefully this can help. So let's start at the basic level. Steve, how do you define an estate
plan? Well, an estate plan, a lot of people just think of a last will and testament for an estate plan, and that is definitely part of what we do. But there's a lot more to it, and usually part and parcel of the estate plan is also documents called advance directives, or some people know them referred to as power of attorney documents. So power of attorney documents are in place while people are still very much alive, but might need help making healthcare choices or undertaking financial transactions in the event of their either unavailability or incapacity. So those documents are in effect during your life, and your will takes effect if you're no longer here. So when I think estate plan, I think of those documents. I also think about the stuff that people do long before they ever get to a lawyer. They might have already jointly titled an asset, or maybe they have a bank account that has a transfer on designation, or like an IRA. We all used to have IRAs that were worth more than they are. But if you have an IRA with a beneficiary on it, I mean, that's a form of estate planning before you even got to us. So that's a long answer to a short question, but it encompasses a whole bunch of things, some of which you've done on your own already, and some of which we can help with.
Yeah, I tell clients,
how about you?
It's any kind of plan you have in the event that you cannot manage your own affairs. So a handwritten list of bills and account numbers and passwords, that life insurance policy, any other benefits through work or anything to anything that helps you plan for the future in that way, I think is what we're talking about.
Yep, and for most people, and I might be jumping ahead, but for most of my clients, and probably many of yours too, most of this comes into sharp focus, and the need for it comes into sharp focus after a little person comes on the scene or a baby's born. Because many times, yes, we're planning for stuff, but we're also planning for, so I think of that too. We're planning for how you are caring for your people.
Stasia, do you ever get clients that come to you and they're like, I just want a will, I don't want anything else? How do you explain the importance of the other documents to them?
Yeah, I do hear that. I get that, because that is oftentimes of primary concern to folks, especially if they aren't familiar with some of the other documents that we typically help families with. But I definitely strongly recommend folks to complete advance directives or power of attorney documents as well. You can hear my dog. Sorry, it's very professional.
You see his
Um,
tail.
yeah, can you see his tail?
Uh-huh.
Perfect. Um, so one of the biggest benefits of having these other documents in place is that you get to be empowered. You get to name the agents that would be making healthcare choices for you or would be helping to manage financial transactions if you can't. And so that's a huge thing. You get to take control of those decisions rather than leaving them potentially to someone else to appoint that person for you. So for the most part, if you have advance directives in place, for the most part, a guardian would not need to be appointed for you in the event of your incapacity, whether that be temporarily or permanently. And that's a huge thing. That's a huge benefit just by completing a few additional documents. For the most part, you can circumvent the need for a guardian to be appointed for you in that case, which is a more costly process with court involvement, of course. Not that that's a bad thing in and of itself, but if you can avoid that, we encourage you to, and it's fairly simple to do so.
Mm-hmm. And do your basic packages sort of include all those extra documents anyway? You're not
They
selling
do.
documents a la
Yours
carte.
do too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I will say though is that I would never pressure a client to complete something that they didn't want to. I
Right.
definitely recommend them to do that, but if they are only wanting one or a few, then okay, we'll absolutely do that for you. How about you?
Same. Yeah. I always encourage people that our package includes those other documents, and they could be just as important, especially if you think about a time like this where it just seems likely that you could end up in a hospital unable to make decisions for yourself, that you have those documents in place just in case. Why not?
Yes, and I will say, let me give a shout out to some other amazing lawyers who right now I've spoken with a few who are frontline at a hospital and they're assisting patients who have been hospitalized, completing advance directives while they're there. So this is definitely a situation in which these are important documents to have, not just now, but all the time. For instance, if you go in to the hospital for any medical procedure at any point, like you've had a baby in the last few years, did they ask you when you were admitted, do you have healthcare directives? And you probably, yes. So they're extremely useful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a
You know,
basic intake question anytime you're
yeah,
in the
and
hospital.
maybe you could share too, if you don't have a healthcare directive, what that looks like under Indiana law, like who is authorized to make those choices for you.
Yeah, so the law it gives a list of priority people who can make healthcare decisions for you if you are unable to, and it's mostly close family, so spouse, parents, siblings, it goes down the line. I think your clergy person is on there.
Yeah, it gets wear out after a while.
It does. And so, which is great, which means that somebody will be there to make decisions for you if you're unable. The law allows it. So if you're single and your sister is the only close family member you have, she will be able to make decisions for you. The issue comes up if if those close family members don't live nearby. That doesn't completely eliminate them from making healthcare decisions for you. It just can make it more difficult. I think the more concerning thing is if you don't have a good relationship with those people, or you don't share values and you wouldn't want them making decisions for you. Then you have to.
And also, yeah, sorry, we're talking over each other. Thanks, Internet. I also just thought of if you, let's say that you're in a long-time committed relationship, but you're not legally married, and you're at least in your advance directive and your healthcare power of attorney, you can appoint that person who in all likelihood is the person you would want to make those choices. Otherwise, legally, they're not the person who statutorily your healthcare provider would ask first. So especially if you're in a long committed relationship and
unmarried partner. Yeah, unmarried partner is not on that list. So that is very important. And I would say to single people, whether, if you're in a long-term relationship or not, I think single people is the demographic that I get least in my office, but maybe need this most,
Right.
especially financially, because if you have assets that are only in your name, so let's say your main checking account where you pay all your bills is only in your name, and you get
Right.
sick and can't pay your bills, nobody has access to that money while you are sick unless they want to go to court and get guardianship over you, or if you have a financial power of attorney that names a trusted friend in that place.
Right. Yeah. And it can take a while, even with a perfectly validly drafted financial power of attorney, for a financial institution to recognize the authority conferred in that document. So, so better to have that on the front end, and a guardianship can take even longer. So it's a great thing to have that in place.
That's right.
I'd also say it's a great thing to talk to the agents that you are considering naming in these documents, because while people really like surprises, they do not like the kind of surprise that comes with discovering that they've been named in these various agency capacities in an emergency situation. So have those conversations now.
Right.
We can those documents all day long, but really, I truly believe that nothing replaces the healthcare conversations that families have among themselves.
Right. And I think too, now is a good time to tell people to share those documents with their trusted people, especially if you are test positive for the coronavirus. No one is going to want to go to your house and dig through your things to find these documents. So
Right.
all of us attorneys now put them in a digital format that can be shared. So share them with your power of attorney and your healthcare representative, so you
And remember who you shared them with in the event that you should revise them in the future and name different agents, because the healthcare providers and financial institutions that are relying on them can only rely on the most recent information they have, because shockingly, our systems are not yet evolved enough to have a centralized repository for this sort of information. I'm hoping someday, maybe we will, but not yet. So it is a little bit like a Pandora's box. Okay, where did it go? And keep track of that. So if you ever do edit them, you know to whom they had been distributed previously.
Right. Well, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, everyone. We hope we provided some level of comfort or at least information during this crazy time. So again, I'm Sarah McClammer. Hopefully the contact information is displaying on the bottom of this screen so you can contact us, but feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to answer more specific questions that you have.
We would. And thank you, Sarah, for having me join you. And I'm Stasia Demos Mills. I'm so glad that we had this conversation. I hope it's helpful to all of you. And boy, do we just wish all of you and yours all of the peace and courage that you need during these days. And either Sarah or I are happy to act as a resource to you or connect you as needed. I feel like both Sarah and I believe that our work is as much of a calling as it is a vocation. So
that's right.
Please
Invite you to, any legal question you have, we'll at least direct you to the right person if we can't answer that. I think both of us do that. We know a lot of attorneys.
That we do.
Fortunately, unfortunately. But anyway, well, thanks everyone.
Thank you. Be well.
Bye.